There was a frog who was best friends with a mouse. These two were so close that they wanted to be tied together so that they never had to be without each other. So the frog and the mouse got a string and they literally tied their legs together, which was wonderful for a time. On the land they had a lot of fun, but eventually the frog missed the water. And when he went back to the water, of course the mouse couldn't swim, so he drowned. His body floated up to the top of the water, and when a hawk flew down and swooped up that mouse, he also got a chance to get the frog as well. The moral of the story is to be mindful who you tie yourself to, because you never know what can happen. But beyond that moral, I used the story of the frog and the mouse to teach a concept called enmeshment. Enmeshment, emotional enmeshment, is the idea that you tie yourself to others emotionally. So, if they're really excited, you're really excited. If they're really down, you're really down. In many ways, we are all enmeshed to some extent, and that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly healthy, especially with our loved ones. So, a few years back, I came up with a diagram that I think can help make this make sense. When we're born and we're young, we're really connected with our families. And it makes sense that we're connected with our families. Our families are taking care of our every need. But when we are close with our families like this and we're interconnected in this way, let's say a father comes home from work and he's really angry. Now, the people at home have to feel that anger, and they have to respond to that anger. Any of you out there who have babies or infants, you know that when your infant or your baby gets really upset, one of the most effective things to do is to calm your own energy. And when you calm your energy, the baby will also calm down. The connection that we have to others, that emotional connection, when they're sad, we're sad. When they're happy, we're happy. That's enmeshment. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and we all start off like that. But the goal is to do this. The goal is to become separate. So we really want to move to this direction. This is enmeshment. And this is differentiation. In differentiation, you can be separate than others, but still there with them. In other words, you are your own entity. And that way, if someone with their lows, you can still be centered. There's a saying in the Tao that whether people go up the ladder or down it, their position is shaky. But when they stand with their feet planted firmly on the ground, then they're centered. The idea of enmeshment is powerful, and here's why. Let's say that it's a work environment, and someone comes in and they're really upset. If they're really upset at work, they could get other people to be also really upset. It's almost as if it's contagious. But here's a way I like to think of emotions that we don't like to handle. It's almost as if they're a really heavy weight, and that heavy weight is too much for us to carry. So what do? We hurry up and involve other people. Help me carry this. And sometimes people put on really heavy emotions on us that we're not either ready, willing, or able to carry. So they end up bringing us down as well. Well, it is very possible to be there with people and love them, be compassionate, be caring, and be kind, but also maintain your own space. So here's an analogy for you. Imagine that people are in their own glass boxes. Now, when they give off their energy, whatever it is, whether it is extreme anger, imagine it almost hits those walls and you don't have to take it on. Just because you're near someone who's experiencing a particular emotion doesn't mean you have to take on that emotion. And when you don't take on that emotion, you can be differentiated. But when you take on the emotion, you are enmeshed. Now, let's say you don't want to be enmeshed. So you say, well, that's it. I'm just not going to talk to that person. And that's what a lot of people do. But when you just decide to break free, you might disengage. And to be disengaged is to be, you think you're not enmeshed, but let's say you disengage. A lot of young people do this when they move away to college. They say, whatever my family thought, I'm going to think the exact opposite. And they might say, well, I don't like so-and-so. So if so-and-so likes something, then I'm not going to like it. But when you disengage and you are still trying to be the opposite of what someone is, you are still emotionally enmeshed. You are still completely intertwined with that person. The goal is not to be enmeshed, but differentiated. That means when someone comes in and is really angry around you, it's okay to acknowledge their anger, acknowledge their process, but still maintain your space and not take on their emotion. Remember, a lot of times when people are in trouble, if they have been caught doing something that was wrong, their reaction is anger. And they try to get you to be angry as well. So that way there can be, hey, look, we're just all in this chaos together. But the reality is that when people are angry, we don't have to also take on that anger. The goal is to be differentiated. The goal is to move away from enmeshment. Almost visualize yourself in a glass box and other people in that glass box so that you don't have to take on that energy. Enmeshment, differentiation, and don't fool yourself by thinking that you can just disengage. I hope this is helpful. The more you understand it, the more you can own your own energy and not be swayed by others. Until next time, I wish you much peace.